Have you ever wondered what it takes to destroy your entire life in pursuit of the truth? To sacrifice everything you've built, everyone you love, every safe harbor you've known, for the chance that someone somewhere might finally listen? There exists a moment in every whistleblower's journey when they realize the weight of what they're about to carry. Not just documents or testimony, but the crushing responsibility of speaking for those who cannot speak for themselves. It's the moment when silence becomes complicity and complicity becomes unbearable. For one man, that moment came not in a boardroom or laboratory, but in the quiet recognition that his expertise was being weaponized against the very people it was meant to protect. This is the story of what happens when a single voice refuses to be silenced, and how the most dangerous truths are often hidden behind the most ordinary facades. The year was 1995, and America was about to witness something unprecedented. A man would walk into a Mississippi courthouse and deliver testimony that would unravel decades of corporate deception. But this wasn't just another legal proceeding. This was the moment when Big Tobacco's carefully constructed wall of denial would finally crack. This dramatized narrative is inspired by real legal principles and public case records. It is presented for educational and entertainment purposes, with interpretations attributed to their respective sources. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead in the Pascagoula courthouse that November morning. Outside, the Mississippi Delta stretched toward the horizon, endless and patient. Inside, 30 tobacco lawyers filled the gallery like storm clouds gathering before lightning strikes. At the witness table sat Dr. Jeffrey Wigand, former vice president of research and development at Brown & Williamson Tobacco Company. His hands rested calmly on the polished wood, but his eyes held the weight of 4 years of carefully guarded secrets. The man who would become America's most famous corporate whistleblower had not started his career planning to bring down an industry. Quite the opposite. Jeffrey Wigand was a biochemist, a scientist who believed in the power of knowledge to heal rather than harm. His journey began in the laboratories of respected companies: Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, places where research meant progress, where discovery led to medicine that saved lives. When Brown & Williamson recruited him in 1989, they promised him something extraordinary: the chance to develop a safer cigarette, to use his expertise in biochemistry to reduce the harm that tobacco products caused. It was an intoxicating possibility for a man who had dedicated his life to science. Finally, he could apply his knowledge not just to create profit, but to genuinely protect public health. For 4 years, Wigand worked inside the machine. He studied the chemical composition of tobacco. He analyzed the additives that companies use to enhance flavor and burning characteristics. He researched ways to reduce harmful substances while maintaining the product that millions of Americans consume daily. But slowly, like a photograph developing in a dark room, a different image began to emerge. The company wasn't interested in making cigarettes safer. They were interested in making them more addictive. Wigand discovered that Brown & Williamson was deliberately manipulating their tobacco blend with chemicals like ammonia, not to reduce harm, but to increase the effect of nicotine in cigarette smoke. The ammonia acted as a delivery system, making nicotine more potent, more readily absorbed by the human brain. He found evidence of over 600 chemical additives being used in tobacco products. Many had never been tested for safety when burned and inhaled. Some, like coumarin, were known carcinogens. When Wigand presented his concerns about coumarin to company executives, pointing out that the National Toxicology Program had classified it as cancer-causing, he was told that removing it would alter the taste profile and hurt sales. Sales mattered more than safety. The man hired to create healthier cigarettes had discovered he was actually employed by a company engineering more effective drug delivery systems. As you listen, notice how easily this could be anyone's life. In March 1993, Jeffrey Wigand was fired from Brown & Williamson. The official reason was corporate restructuring. The real reason, Wigand believed, was that he had become inconvenient. A scientist with a conscience is a liability when conscience conflicts with profit margins. But firing Wigand didn't silence him. It freed him. 2 years later, the state of Mississippi filed a lawsuit against 13 major tobacco companies. They weren't suing for individual smokers, they were suing to recover the millions of dollars the state had spent treating tobacco-related illnesses through their Medicaid program. If cigarettes caused disease and tobacco companies knew it, then those companies should bear the financial responsibility for the medical care their products necessitated. Mississippi needed an expert witness, someone who understood the science behind tobacco manufacturing, someone who could explain to a jury exactly how these products were designed and what the companies knew about their effects. They needed Jeffrey Wigand. Brown and Williamson fought desperately to prevent their former employee from testifying. They had bound him with confidentiality agreements, legal contracts that prohibited him from discussing proprietary company information. They obtained a gag order from a Kentucky judge, attempting to silence him before he could speak. But Mississippi Chancery Judge William Myers ruled that the state's need for Wigand's testimony outweighed the tobacco company's confidentiality claims. The public's right to know trumped corporate secrecy. On that November morning in 1995, as Wigand took his oath to tell the truth, he carried with him not just his own knowledge, but the hopes of millions of people who had trusted an industry that had betrayed that trust. The opposing counsel table was a fortress of expensive suits and hostile eyes. Tom Bezenson from the prestigious law firm Chadbourne and Park represented Brown and Williamson. His job was simple: prevent Wigand from saying anything that could damage his client's interests. Across the courtroom sat Ron Motley, the anti-tobacco attorney representing Mississippi. Motley had built his career fighting David and Goliath battles against powerful corporations. He understood that this deposition wasn't just about one state's Medicaid costs. This was about exposing a pattern of deception that had lasted for decades. The tension in the room was suffocating. Every question carried the weight of potential devastation. Every answer could shift the balance of a legal war that had been raging in courtrooms across America. When Motley asked Wigand to describe Brown and Williamson's business model, the scientist's answer cut through the corporate euphemisms like a surgical blade. "We're a nicotine delivery business," Wigand testified. "Not a tobacco company, not a manufacturer of adult lifestyle products. A nicotine delivery business." Those 5 words shattered 40 years of industry propaganda. Tobacco executives had spent decades testifying before Congress that nicotine wasn't addictive, that they didn't manipulate nicotine levels, that cigarettes were simply agricultural products processed for adult consumers who made informed choices. Wigand's testimony revealed the truth. Cigarette companies weren't selling tobacco. They were selling addiction. He explained how the industry used sophisticated chemical engineering to maximize nicotine's impact on the human brain, how they studied the neuroscience of addiction to make their products more compelling, how they targeted young people because establishing nicotine dependence early created customers for life. Bezenson objected constantly, trying to interrupt Wigand's testimony, attempting to invoke confidentiality privileges, fighting every revelation that emerged from the witness stand. But Judge Myers allowed the questioning to continue, and with each answer, another piece of the industry's careful facade crumbled. The deposition lasted hours, but its impact would reverberate for years. Wigand had provided a roadmap for prosecutors across the country, showing them exactly how to pierce the veil of tobacco company denials. But testifying was only the beginning of Wigand's ordeal. The real battle was about to begin. Within days of his Mississippi testimony, Brown and Williamson launched a coordinated campaign to destroy Jeffrey Wigand's credibility. They hired Terry Lenzner's investigative group International to compile a 500-page dossier on their former employee. Private investigators combed through every aspect of Wigand's personal life, searching for anything that could be used to discredit him. The dossier alleged spousal abuse, shoplifting, traffic violations, and various forms of misconduct. Brown and Williamson hired John Scanlon, a master of crisis public relations, to distribute this character assassination to news outlets across the country. The message was clear. Jeffrey Wigand was not a principled scientist exposing corporate wrongdoing. He was a disgruntled former employee with a history of questionable behavior who couldn't be trusted. The campaign cost Brown and Williamson approximately $8.2 million. It was the most expensive character assassination in corporate history, and it nearly worked. The anonymous death threats arrived at night, slipped under doorways like poisoned letters in a spy novel. Jeffrey Wigand would find them in his mailbox, taped to his windshield, delivered to his children's school. The messages were simple and terrifying. Stop talking, or consequences would follow. But the real weapon wasn't fear, it was isolation. Brown and Williamson's character assassination campaign worked with surgical precision. News outlets across America received copies of the 500-page dossier, complete with allegations and insinuations designed to transform a respected scientist into a tabloid villain. The strategy was elegant in its cruelty. They couldn't silence Wigand legally, so they would destroy him socially. His marriage crumbled under the pressure. His wife, terrified by the threats and overwhelmed by the media scrutiny, filed for divorce. His children faced harassment at school. Friends distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with someone embroiled in such controversy. The man who had risked everything to tell the truth found himself completely alone, yet Wigand refused to break. Every morning he woke up knowing that Brown and Williamson's lawyers were searching for new ways to discredit him. Every evening he went to sleep understanding that his testimony had made him a target for one of the most powerful industries in America. The Wall Street Journal became his unlikely savior. When the newspaper received Brown and Williamson's dossier, their investigative reporters did what the tobacco company had hoped other outlets wouldn't do. They fact-checked the allegations. What they discovered was a masterpiece of corporate manipulation. The claims about Wigand were either completely fabricated or wildly exaggerated. Traffic violations became evidence of reckless behavior. A shoplifting charge from decades earlier, which had been dismissed, was presented as proof of criminal tendencies. Personal disputes were reframed as character flaws. On January 26, 1996, the Wall Street Journal published a front-page exposé that didn't just defend Jeffrey Wigand. It revealed the extraordinary lengths to which Brown and Williamson had gone to silence him. The $8.2 million smear campaign backfired spectacularly, transforming Wigand from a questioned witness into a vindicated whistleblower. CBS had been watching this drama unfold with intense interest. Mike Wallace, the legendary 60 Minutes correspondent, had conducted an extensive interview with Wigand months earlier. The interview was explosive, containing revelations that would fundamentally change public understanding of the tobacco industry. But CBS corporate executives were terrified. Their lawyers warned that broadcasting Wigand's interview could result in a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit from Brown and Williamson for tortious interference with contractual relations. The tobacco company argued that by giving Wigand a platform to violate his confidentiality agreement, CBS would be complicit in his breach of contract. The network made a decision that would haunt journalism for decades. They shelved the interview. For months, 60 Minutes sat on one of the most important whistleblower stories in American history. The same network that had built its reputation on fearless investigative reporting chose corporate self-preservation over public service. The Wall Street Journal's vindication of Wigand changed everything. On February 4, 1996, nearly 4 months after it was originally scheduled, the 60 Minutes interview finally aired. America watched Jeffrey Wigand explain how tobacco companies had spent decades lying about their products. He detailed the chemical manipulation of cigarettes, the deliberate enhancement of nicotine delivery, the suppression of research showing health risks. Most damning of all, he revealed internal company documents proving that tobacco executives knew their products were both addictive and harmful while publicly testifying to the contrary before Congress. The interview transformed Wigand into a household name, but not necessarily a beloved one. The tobacco industry's propaganda had been so effective that many Americans still viewed him with suspicion. He was either a hero exposing corporate corruption or a traitor destroying American jobs and personal freedom. The truth, as always, was more complex than either narrative allowed. Consider the moral mathematics of whistleblowing. How many lives must be saved to justify destroying one man's existence? How much corporate wrongdoing must be exposed to balance the personal cost of exposure? Meanwhile, across America, state attorneys general were preparing lawsuits that would reshape corporate accountability forever. Wigand's testimony had provided them with a roadmap for attacking tobacco companies, but more importantly, it had given them credibility. The Mississippi case was just the beginning. Florida, Texas, Minnesota, and dozens of other states filed similar lawsuits, all seeking to recover the medical costs of treating tobacco-related illnesses. The legal theory was revolutionary. If tobacco companies had knowingly sold dangerous products while concealing their risks, then those companies should bear financial responsibility for the health consequences. Wigand became the star witness in case after case. His scientific expertise and insider knowledge made him uniquely qualified to explain how tobacco companies had engineered addiction while denying it existed. Each testimony was an act of courage. Each courtroom appearance meant facing rooms full of hostile lawyers whose job was to discredit everything he said. Each time he took the oath, he risked further retaliation from an industry that had already demonstrated its willingness to destroy him personally. But something remarkable was happening. The more Wigand testified, the more corroborating evidence emerged. Other tobacco industry insiders began coming forward. Internal company documents surfaced through legal discovery. Scientific studies that had been suppressed for decades were finally made public. A pattern of deception spanning 50 years came into focus. Tobacco companies hadn't just hidden the health risks of smoking. They had actively worked to make cigarettes more dangerous while publicly denying any health connection. The industry's defense strategy remained consistent across every lawsuit. They argued that smoking was a personal choice made by informed adults. They claimed that the health risks of tobacco had been publicly known for decades. They denied that nicotine was addictive or that they had manipulated nicotine levels to create dependence. But Wigand's testimony, supported by thousands of pages of internal documents, told a different story. Tobacco companies had spent millions of dollars researching the addictive properties of nicotine while publicly claiming it wasn't addictive. They had studied the psychology of teenage smoking to create more effective marketing strategies. They had suppressed their own research showing the health dangers of their products. The legal battles stretched on for years, consuming enormous resources on both sides. Tobacco companies hired the most expensive law firms in America. States assembled teams of attorneys working on contingency fees, betting their careers on the possibility of victory. As you listen, notice how justice often moves like geological time, invisible until the earthquake hits. The earthquake came in 1998 with the Master Settlement Agreement. 46 states, led by their attorneys general, reached a historic settlement with the 4 largest tobacco companies in America. The financial terms were staggering. The tobacco industry agreed to pay a minimum of $206 billion over 25 years to compensate states for tobacco-related healthcare costs. But money was only part of the agreement. The settlement fundamentally changed how tobacco companies could market their products. It banned cartoon mascots like Joe Camel. It prohibited advertising in locations where children might see it. It required companies to fund anti-smoking campaigns and to open their previously secret research files to public scrutiny. Most significantly, the Master Settlement Agreement included a provision dismissing Brown and Williamson's lawsuit against Jeffrey Wigand. The company that had spent millions trying to destroy him was forced to abandon its legal pursuit as a condition of the broader settlement. Wigand had won, but at a cost that few people understood. Jeffrey Wigand never returned to the tobacco industry. He became a teacher, standing before high school students and explaining the science of addiction with the same precision he had once used to design cigarettes. The man who had destroyed his career to save lives spent his remaining years trying to prevent young people from needing to be saved at all. The $206 billion settlement changed American corporate law forever, establishing precedent that companies could be held financially responsible for the public health consequences of their products. But perhaps more importantly, it proved that even the most powerful industries could be held accountable when truth finally found its voice. This was the testimony that didn't just shatter big tobacco. It shattered the illusion that some truths are too dangerous to tell.